Welcome to Be a Better Marketer, the podcast where top marketing minds share the latest trends, strategies, and real-world tips to help you grow your business and sharpen your skills. Whether you're a pro or just getting started, this is your edge in the marketing world.
Welcome to the Inspire Impact, a podcast show. I'm Daniel Rosenstein, your host, and today I have the honor of interviewing Valerie Kim. Valerie, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got from where you were to where you are today?
I'm a former world champion, turned to be a serial entrepreneur. So I'm currently have a platform, iSpeakUpLightUp. It's a platform for entrepreneurs to help them bring their vision into reality, combination of the mentorship, personal development, as well as events. So we're basically facilitating connections and opening doors to different markets, primarily connecting, let's say, East and West, some, entrepreneurs in Europe, but also in the United States, and opening some doors in the Middle East. And also, of course, since I started to do this work, some people started to come and ask how to create some conceptualized events when it comes to business conferences. And for example, some launches, some team buildings, and make it not just business and not just, let's be honest, boring format, but bring some spark. And so that's why I also started to consult and help people create unique ideas for their events, but also help them to execute, especially when it comes to launching new brands, products, services in new markets.
So you're saying you used to be a world champion. What were you a world champion for?
A ballroom dancer, if you know waltz, tango, foxtrot. But yes, basically my passion was always sport dance.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. So, how did you get from being a dancer to a serial entrepreneur? Because, it's like a really different thing.
In a way, yes, but I think nowadays a lot of areas you need to become an entrepreneur, for example. But for me, I was always curious about entrepreneurship as well as the aspect of investment, how to create financial freedom. And that's basically what helped me to, in a way, achieve success in the sport as well. Because if you go for such, let's say, high goals, it requires you to sometimes train for, 5 hours, 8 hours, sometimes longer, every single day, including weekends. So you need to, some people actually have the full, employment. Some people do have business because people need to support themselves. Not all dancers, let's say, become teachers, judges, and pursue this path fully. For me, was the same. I was always curious about many other areas, industries. So I was educating myself, and it was always come together. Investing, whether it's in property or some digital assets, creating business, but also following my passion in dancing.
Oh, that's really amazing. And congratulations on all your success. I mean, that's tremendous. And the fact that you're able to be successful in so many different areas, a lot of people are not able to accomplish all of that. I wanted to ask you, how do you know what business to go into, since there's so many potential businesses?
I guess this is not really nowadays, at least, the question to ask yourself, because I understand that in the past, so many industries, it was not easy always, right, to enter specific, areas. But nowadays, when people get access to knowledge, mentorship, and people also can literally utilize the power of social media even and build their own brands in whatever area and expertise they want. I think nowadays the main question should be what fulfills you. Where can you connect? It's literally ikigai. As you know, ikigai, right? What lights you up, for what people are going to pay you money, where you can make the contribution. So bringing all these areas together and understanding where you can thrive, still grow, still develop, what fuels you. And at the same time, of course, what makes financial sense. We can talk a lot about passion. And I am type of person who says, yes, you need to be passionate about what you're doing because it's a long-term game. If you want to create a really long-lasting, prosperous business, it can take sometimes years. And if you do something that you hate, it's very hard to persevere and stay resilient and show up every single day. Because obviously when you start, even if you launch a podcast or if you do something or you start social media profile, there is no people, right? You have to build up your own audience, your community. It's really something that you have to build step by step. So figure out what actually you are curious and interested in to explore, to dive deeper, continuously learning. Understand what are your talents, abilities, gifts, and resources you have nowadays that can contribute to build this particular business. And of course, make your numbers. Understand, does it make for me economic sense? Can I scale this? Sometimes, of course, when we choose specific services, they're not necessarily scalable at first. But when you start with this, you build some sort of capital, there's also an opportunity to say, okay, now I can think about different strategies, what I can add on to this, whether it's education, whether it's any sort of, additional services, or even outsourcing some building team. And that's how step by step you start scaling. So it's really depends on individual.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Now, and you have to reinvent yourself a few times, like you have to pivot into new directions. How did you do that, with your mindset? Did you have to train yourself like, hey, I got to start over, or I got to shift the way I think?
I think we're not really always starting from scratch. Yes, it does feel like that, but we already developed some sort of experience. We have network, we have some skill sets. And the pivoting is normally not something people say, I'm comfortable with pivoting every single day or once a month or every year. It comes from normally something is happening in life when you realize that either the work you're doing, you're not resonating with it anymore, or you're understanding that you are capable of so much more, or simply your interests are changing or demand is shifting. Is also in my case, when people are coming to you and asking for some help and support. And if you're passionate about this and you already have expertise, why not to start serving in this direction? So yeah, the mindset you asked is all about understanding that pivoting, as some people might perceive in some cultures, especially cultures where believe, maybe some Asian cultures where you have to dedicate yourself to one specific career until the rest of your life. And they work even in the same company for, 30, 40 years. And out of sudden, like you change yourself completely. I think it's understanding that this life, you're not living it or performing it for someone else. You are living this life for yourself. So if something fulfills you more, contributes to wherever you want to go in your life, just go for it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes at the beginning or sometimes we become experts in one area and then we feel inadequate when we change. So we kind of we are beginners again. So I think don't be afraid and be humble enough to be beginner, because this is the fast track to learn faster, to, instead of being ignorant, just accept this fact from the very beginning. And this will help you to scale faster.
Do you think that it's harder for women to be business entrepreneurs, or do you think it doesn't matter anymore?
I think it does matter. At least it feels like that. Of course, it's very arguable question in terms of it depends where you are now position-wise in your life in general, but also in which area in this world. I think if to talk about general things and look at numbers and statistics, then we say, yes, we're still so much behind when even like with fundings, when we go through amount of startups funded that are, initiated and started by women way less than men, for example. But also, again, very often you hear things like, oh, you're still doing this, you're a woman thing. There are many kind of things that are not perceived serious, let's put it this way. And just spending additional energy to explaining and educating people why whatever it matters, why it's important to invest in female leadership, education, mentorship, empowerment, why it matters. It's just additional time, right? For example, if you do like men thing, you just go and directly apply to specific mentorship funding and you get direct feedback. If needed, you improve and you get what you need. I don't say that it's easy, But I say yes, it's easier for men nowadays still to be in any industry than for women.
So how do you help like other entrepreneurs unleash their inner champion?
I think it has many aspects to it. It's starting from mindset to the way you show up to the personal development and healing aspects. So I don't know from what to start. Even so, in particular, which part is interesting for you the most?
Yeah. So let's just say someone's confused. They don't know like, what business to start. What advice do you give them?
I think it starts really, as I mentioned, from self-discovery and understanding who you are. Sometimes people think they can incredibly lead something, while at the end of the day, maybe it does make sense for them to basically better stay in a corporate career because they are thriving there, because they have insane amount of support. And maybe they can execute their ideas more efficiently if they are in the right environment. Sometimes it's just shift to another company is the solution and not to start their own business. Very often when people achieve like executive positions, they believe that they created an insane career in the corporate world, that it's easy to be entrepreneur. While to be entrepreneur is a completely different mindset, as we don't have paychecks, we don't have security and reliability on, system. We are building our own system, and it requires completely different skill set, the way you're thinking, and the level of connections you build up. So, yeah.
Do you have any like specific like daily like rituals to keep you focused and grounded every day?
When we work on several projects, of course, like we have different types of clients and different types of projects. And I think it's just a really understanding what you're focusing on primarily either this month or either this week or even day by day. It should be, of course, the combination of forgetting to take care about yourself, whether it's just short walk and recalibration of energy. But I think what's really important is just really have clear, like, priority. What is important now? I'm now in the phase of fundraising, or like I need to build team, or what is primarily important for you? What is the missing element? And then brick by brick, build up. And then you go to the next level instead of just being occupied with incredible amount of tasks and then be frozen and doing absolutely nothing at the end of the day. So I think what's helpful is to be focused, prioritize tasks, and really, what helps is self-awareness. A lot of entrepreneurs, they are busy, but when they look at their, for example, even cash flow, they just need to really question themselves in terms of where is this time and energy goes. Lots of them, they are just like not measuring the amount of cash flow they produce, what are the cash flow producing activities, and the rest can be what is not priority at all, what can be delegated, or, just really analyzing yourself. Where do you investing your time and energy now, and what should be optimized? It's basically in business, it's very easy to measure its numbers. So just keep track on your numbers.
In your opinion, what's like the number one trait that leaders need to have in order to be, successful?
I think it's first of all like self-leadership. Leadership starts from leading your own self. You can't lead other people if you can't even lead yourself. And by leading yourself, it has multiple aspects, from understanding, again, where is my, toxic habits that are not contributing at all on a daily basis, and up to the fact that I have a long-term vision. And a lot of people have a tendency of getting results now as soon as possible instead of, understanding game, playing a long-term game. The results will come based on what I'm doing actually today. So being like investing really in understanding yourself better, how you are functioning. And through that, of course, you also start to understand other people better, where they come from. Because at the end of the day, business or whatever you're doing in life, it's all about other people. It's all about connections. And I think if you want to succeed, especially nowadays during, era of artificiality, so to say, What matters is connections, human connections, and how you build your personal brand. So it's two things to invest nowadays.
So can you explain a little bit, like, how do you help entrepreneurs create their own stage and use events as a launch pad?
Of course, many strategies how you can launch. For me personally and our platform, it became natural to enter new markets utilizing events because it's a great way, again, to create an environment where people can taste what your brand is about when you are not just posting in social media or communicating what are your values, you're actually showing them. If you have a product or even if you have a service, there's multiple ways how you can basically directly get feedback, make them try your product, and basically have also social proof. Also, events is a great way to create a great PR campaigns around, make sure that the right people on board. And also, if you are entering new market, basically there are many things taken into account culturally wise, how to present, how to be like building this sensitivity, so to say, or tolerance as well, to understand, okay, what can I do better? How can I adapt better? What are the pain point of real, actual people? It's not that I'm sitting or investing in research, but actually go into this field and speak with the real people. So, and of course, I mean, what can replace the in-person meetings? It's great to have virtual, of course, conversations, but when people meet in person, there's a much higher percentage of building trust, also faster, especially when you are not just exchanging LinkedIn or business cards, but you are like having an experience together, right? It's like few days, you go out there, do different activities, see how people are performing or how they do things in real life. It's really builds different level of bonding. So this basically also helps to build a much long-term and authentic connections and partnerships.
Maybe give us a couple of examples of how you help your clients, launch their events.
It starts from objectives and basically what they want to achieve, right? Because for some people, it just generates income. For some people, it's present what they created to a completely different audience. So you define objective, and then based on this, you create a unique concept. I don't work with templates. I know that lots of event companies, especially when they're big companies, they have specific templates. They are constantly trying to sell their clients. But what is different for us, we start like understanding, okay, what are your objectives? What do you need? And then based on this, we conceptualize the whole idea. And of course, based on the brand, whether it's values or specialities, we are trying to create different touch points, how people from, entering event up to the end of the day, what the experience they need to have, how you want them make feel. So there are many different details come on top of that. So it really depends on the company or entrepreneur, what they really want.
But what's the difference between like event marketing, other types of marketing, meta ads, Facebook ads? I mean, wouldn't be.
And then it's completely different.
I understand it's different, but like random benefits, you know what I mean? Like doing an event versus just running Facebook ads.
Yeah. It depends, right? What is the business about, the business nature itself? As I said, for some people who are just happy with their online business, of course, maybe doing event it doesn't make sense. From the other side, what can make you stand out is actually go and do something different. Again, when you do event, it is not just, one day gathering, and how you can actually connect with, you said like Facebook ads, meta ads nowadays. So you are integrating meta ads into what you already have. So it's boosts the exposure. You have some also using the social proof. People who have been testing, even if you're utilizing the power of media and inviting media on board, or even if you're creating content during the event on site and then continuously utilizing it over the next months. And maybe you can also repurpose it into the whole online marketing campaign. So there are many ways how you can play around that. So I always consider events as a long-term game. So it's not just one day activation. It's something that you are building up over the months before that in terms of visibility and driving traffic even to your website offer and products. And of course, all the resources that you build up during this event, from databases to, again, the content, and also connections and touch points with the media like real press. So it depends on the volume and capacity of the event.
Now, do you work with certain industries over others? Do you work
Pardon?
with all, do you work with all industries?
Any, of course.
Any industry?
But for me, it's primarily, of course, it's more about personal development. It's also a lot of events around women entrepreneurs. But normally, of course, we work with many different industries.
So what advice do you give to maybe, somebody, they're not sure if they should run an event? Like they just say they came up with a new product, but we're not sure if they're running an event. How they should, what questions they should ask themselves to know that, running an event is right for them. Let's just say a woman entrepreneur, she just launched a new product. Let's say a new type of clothing. How do they know if now is the right time to, to run an event, or maybe do it later, or do some other type of marketing?
First of all, with existing product, it's one story. And then you just can test. There are many ways how you can test new market even before the event itself. But of course, they have to keep in mind, again, what is the purpose? Why do you want to do the event in the very first place? And is it like culturally appropriate? Is you are solving a problem of specific group of people? And if the group of people is big enough, why this market does make sense to you, for example? If it's just an event in general where you are normally operating, it's just bringing community together, it's again completely different story. If you are asking about launch of a new product, I think the advice would be don't fall in love in your product. Like your life depends on that, because just because you like this product doesn't mean that people are going to buy it. So I think the faster you will be able to check if people actually want to have it. Like, again, there are many ways. Create a waiting list or whatever you call it, and test this. Ask people what they want. Do they want to create something? So get the social proof first. How many people? Does it make sense? It will help you if you are finding this. This is a great proof for investors if there is enough people who wants to buy it at the end of the day. If not, for you, it's just a sign to move on to something else or to make an adjustment, like just listen to a feedback, ask people. I think it's as simple as it is.
Can you maybe share a story of one of the most memorable events that you produced?
One of what kind of events?
One of the events that you produced.
We are running events in the Middle East. So we were creating events in Dubai, but also in Riyadh. It's something that became like on an annual basis. Then it turned to 3 days event. Our next event, like business summit, is in Cappadocia. But what we're actually launching, and is I think one of the biggest projects yet, it's basically a recreation of the Silk Road. If you're familiar, this famous trade between West and East. And if the ancient Silk Road was a lot about, not just trade, but if you look at the history, like the war, the power games was involved like always. What we want to do is to recreate the Silk Way and make it a modern one, meaning it's all about collaboration. It's all about creating spaces and rooms, because people are constantly saying, oh, I don't have space here. This door is closed. So we were trying to just open the doors to new markets. Especially there's a lot of collaborations happening nowadays between some, European initiatives with the GCC. So what we're doing is literally building bridges between West and East. So it's a multi-city roadshow that we're currently creating across Dubai, Riyadh, Istanbul, and Cappadocia. So businesses who have, creating something for, impact, helping people to live a much better, fulfilling life, whether it's health-wise, mental health-wise, but also some physical products, mindset, personal development. have a great chance to go, whether it's learn culturally wise how people in different, in the Middle East are doing business. What are the opportunities there from investment to some governmental initiatives? And also present their own endeavors, their own products, their own services, and see what kind of opportunities can be created there. So that's what we're working on at this moment. There's a lot of activation points. It's 3 to 2 days events in every single stop. So if you're interested, you can explore more about that.
So what is that going to happen at some broad event?
It's basically, just people can either choose any of the markets it's UAE, it's Saudi, Qatar, or Turkey. If any of the markets speaks to them and they want to explore more, maybe they want to, some people fully relocate their businesses, some opening branches, some benefit from tax system, whatever it is, maybe just testing new, target audience at the end of the day. On so many different capacities, they have an opportunity to go and check how things are working, what are the regulations, how they can find potential supporters, clients, partners, and so on.
I'm going to share a little bit about your iSpeakUpLightUp, initiative. What inspired you to create it?
Basically, Speak Up, Light Up is all about helping people, primarily women, to unleash their gifts, abilities, talents, and find out how to monetize it. I think a lot of women stayed in a way behind when it comes to education, business, investment in general. And nowadays, when you have so many opportunities to really monetize your unique gifts and abilities, what it takes is decision and education. So as lots of women were suppressed for many years, kind of following specific social framework, family framework, some scenarios, what you have to do or whom you need to be in order to be perceived successful. But we all know that in real life, it's not exactly what makes you happy or fulfilled. And I think nowadays it's a great opportunity to actually figure out, basically what we do is helping women to figure out what life do you want to build, and then help them to build out business around their desired lifestyle. Because for some people, yes, it's money. For some people, it's more than money. They have completely different goals in life, different purpose. So in connection with all of that, basically through the mentorship, through different types of tools of self-discovery, self-reinvention, will help them reach these goals. And as soon as they launch a business, they also have lots of different tools how to become more visible, whether it's a speaker, whether it's use the media. So we are partnering with lots of media companies as well, or different platforms. So because nowadays, what is the currency? It's attention, it's visibility. So this is what we do.
So what are your favorite topics to speak on and why?
Well, so the topics doesn't matter whether it's business, always end up to be about personal development, personal growth. And I think it's not more about even becoming, it's about remembering. So how to remember who you are, who you want to be, what did you come here at the end of the day, and just simply light up people with the idea that they're so much more than they think they are. And the problem with all of these things is it doesn't matter how I or you or someone else believes in other people. It's if they don't believe in themselves, nothing is going to happen. So it's how to actually understand your real true worth, start believing in yourself and your own dreams, and go there and do something about that.
So how do you prepare to speak in front of a large audience of thousands of people?
To be honest, I had different experiences. Of course, sometimes you prepare, you write your speech, you rehearse. But from my experience, sometimes it's a total, no, I don't prepare. I stop preparing, stop literally preparing for my speeches, because sometimes you go on stage, or even before even you go on stage, because you already meet people, you just realize that the energy is completely different. And the audience, sometimes hosts, of course, they say, this is the audience, that's what we expect. But then you realize it's something different. And even though I have in mind, let's say, what I want to say, point by point, but when you are on stage, it's primarily all about connecting with the audience. And then for me, it's always kind of channeling what I want to say. Of course, take into account the topic that was promised to deliver. But I think with experience, it comes that it's not so much about preparation, even though you do need to prepare. It's more about connection.
So how does emotional intelligence transform a business challenge into a breakthrough?
Pardon, the connection was bad.
Sorry. Can you share with us, how does emotional intelligence help transform a business challenge into a breakthrough?
I think it's like a topic for several hours.
Oh.
To put shortly, emotions is something that we humans, it's our gift. The problem is that when people are not aware, about the emotions, the feelings, it's first of all hard to connect with people, because what is business, as I said, it's connection with other people. Whether we are selling something, whether you're just presenting, getting on board strategic partners, any types of stakeholders, it's all about people. And if you are functioning just from the mind, even you come and you're pitching, even if your numbers are perfect, people still want to feel something. They want to be involved in being part of something bigger than just numbers or whatever you're presenting. So I think it helps on many levels to feel other people during the conversations, during the sales processes, but also when, on personal level, when you understand yourself better, and you feel like there are internal processes that are blocking you to the next level of whether it's money-wise, how much you feel you are worthy from now to receive from specific clients, or what is the next level and stage of your career, who is holding you back to go and ask for a higher paycheck? It's normally yourself. Or just think that you're not worthy, you don't deserve it, right? And it connects with many layers of emotions that you can unprocess, emotions that you were accumulating since childhood. So now I don't want to go deep into psychology. There are lots of different layers, but the more you are emotionally connected to yourself, and the more you are working on this, let's say, storage and releasing, so to say, the more you are attuned and understand, basically becoming comfortable in your own body, it brings lots of releases, basically a lot of energy. So you're becoming more productive, more energetic, you're showing up differently, but also your level of connections with other people are going to the next level, whether it's in private life, and connections in private life, as you know, also are impacting our business in some capacity, but also your relationships, as I said, with any type of stakeholder. It's just very short and surface level.
Is he talking about releasing emotions? Is there a way people can do that? Is there some type of technique they could do a meditation or breathing exercise or type of healing work?
For first place, it's a process, and it's not just, oh, I have this stored emotion. I did something, I meditate 50 minutes and now I feel good. It's not working like that. For some people, it really depends on personality. Some people really need professional help, go to the therapy. For some people, it takes years to just work on one aspect of self to release. Sometimes emotions are stored on different levels. So it's layer by layer, you are just going to the next level. So it is just work on yourself.
What advice do you give to aspiring speakers, people who want to speak on stage, but they're a little bit afraid? What advice to give them to find their own voice?
Again, finding your own voice is first of all starting to showing up, and it's not normally should necessarily start from stage. As I said, creating your own stage, it can be a virtual stage, right? Even now, it's also in a way a stage. So, but also your own social media, start from that. YouTube, Instagram, whatever platform works for you, right? Start showing up, but not just showing up and say, hey, it's me. Understand what you're passionate about. What do you want to translate into this world? What type of community do you want to build? Because at the end of the day, when you are showing up, you are starting to gather around yourself let's say, like-minded people. So what is this community is about? Like our community is all about women who are passionate about entrepreneurship and personal development. So what is this areas interesting for you, right? Again, is it investment? Is it like podcasting? Is it, I don't know, fashion, art, whatever, literature? Just figure out what are you building, why you're building, and start showing up. When you have this confidence, the next level could be stage. When you have specific expertise and you want to share it with a broader audience, stage and in general, mic, it's a very powerful tool. For some people use it for, as I say, manipulations, right? So we know lots of examples. And some people use it for inspiration and lighting up. And if you want to use it for lighting up and inspiration, it's again process of investing in the personal, self-confidence, the way you want to project as well. So finding your own voice, it's a process as well. And you start just by trying to showing up and then pivoting and discovering what feels natural. I think the key here is authenticity. But to go on stage, it's again the whole process, how to get ready, prepared, and become a great speaker. I'm not sure if we have so much time to talk about all this.
Is that part of what you do to help your clients, help them to speak on a stage if that's what they want to do?
We normally work with speakers who already, have been at least had already experience being a speaker at some events. Of course, if they need support in terms of preparing speech, support in gaining more confidence and how to show up. I had so many different experiences when people, like speakers, didn't show up. They had blackouts or something was happening technically wise and they were freaking out. So if you are not really, feeling any kind of shakiness in one area or another, of course, we're helping them to get ready and teach how to go through different sort of situationships. It's not, let's say, primarily business, but it's part because we are creating and hosting our own events, and we need to make sure that when speakers on our stage go on our stage, they are ready because people come to learn, to get something out of this time that they invested. And we need to make sure that it's a good quality.
What's next for you, Valerie? And do you have any upcoming projects or new trainings or global initiatives that you're going to launch soon?
Yeah, as I shared, the Silkway, the biggest project we have been working yet, that combines events, combines filming. We're creating a documentary about that. And of course, we are launching our own publication. That will be a combination of education about cross-cultural connections, whether it's business-wise or in general, educating yourself about the Middle East and the way things work in this region.
So Valerie, if somebody was interested in working with you, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
I'm present in social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram. So we also have the website. It's iSpeakUpLightUp.com. So you can go and check.
Do you have any final message you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up our podcast for today?
The message I always bring is just reminding that we're not slaves, we are creators. And whatever you have in your mind, the longer you allow it to sit there, the harder it's actually to implement. So if you have any kind of idea, just go and test. And don't be afraid to be perceived as a failure if it doesn't work. The most important part is just, this life is not given to you to live with a specific framework. It's your life. You are basically creator of whatever reality you're creating for yourself. So just take action. It's a combination of, there is no things like spend 100,000 years in meditations or just be non-stop action takers. It's a combination of both is to really connection with yourself, understanding what do I want to create in this life, projects, what are the business, what is the career, and then go and take action. So it's always a balance.
Valerie, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today and sharing to us about your history, your experiences, and all your accomplishments. And I think you're an amazing person, being a world champion, I mean, to me, that's really incredible. I love the hardships you had to go through, and now you're so successful in business. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and, and advice to our audience today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.